Yeah, I loved it.
This is being taped.
Can you come to the table?
Is that a song? Think of the song, come to the table. I'm very silly. I'm waiting. He said he'd give me. Okay.
As it comes on.
Yeah.
You're thinking about replacing the windows.
Bingo.
What's it gonna cost? Today I'm here with Sarah in Renewable Finance. He didn't pay for
Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call the meeting to order of the ALCOSAN Advisory Committee, July 31st. If we could please have a roll call, Stevie.
Good afternoon, everyone. Cindy Bond, Lisa Werder Brand, here. Lloyd Cunningham,
Here.
Dan DeMarco, Patricia DeMarco, present. Tina Doucet, here. Nick Resock,
Here.
Mark Heckman, Kelly, Ken Lasada, Ruth Ann Omer,
Is it here?
Will Pickering,
Here.
Mary Ellen Ramage,
Here.
Tim Rogers. Here. Kathy Sapp. Danielle Ventresca,
Here.
Sean Alfonso Wells,
I heard a here real faint.
I think we've got an echo.
Oh,
I have 10.
We have quorum. +1.
all right, very good.
I never get asked if I'm here, so I never get counted.
You don't have the advisory committee.
I'm ex officio.
La Cravata.
Is Darla Cravata in the
I'm
house?
ex officio.
You always know you're.
Well, next time I won't forget.
All right, now that we've cleared that up, I'd like to move on to the minutes from April 24th. I can have a motion for,
Action to accept the minutes as received.
thank you, second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? All right, moving on. We're going to have an update on the plans for the open house by Kimberly Slater Wood. Kimberly, you ready? Yeah. Very good, thank you.
Okay.
Nature stuff. The only pouring solution for garages, basements, and indoor spaces. Visit naturestone.com today and schedule your free cost estimate. Add now and see up to 50% off any Naturestone floor. It's not just the floor, wow, it's nature. Watch the KDKA TV News at 6 with Ken.
Okay, great. Good evening, everyone. And thank you for inviting me to present an update on our open house. I am Dr. Kimberly Slater Wood, acting manager of communications, and we are counting down to open house. Next slide, please, Derek. Sorry. Okay, our open house is September 14th, come rain or shine. 9 to 4, we will be here. It is unbelievable that we are 45 days away. And although we've held this event for over the last 20 years, each year that we host is like the first time. Last year, we hosted over 1,300 visitors, and this year we are expecting to increase that number. As you know, for those of you who have attended, we have a plethora of activities that are not only kid-friendly, but adult-friendly as well. We have environmental activities for young and old, from ages 2 to 102. This year, we will have over 40 exhibits, including our Frankie Science on the Go, which made its debut at last year's open house. Frankie Science on the Go is our mobile science van. Our mascot, Frankie the Fish, will also be here. We have our seat workshops for our teachers. And this year, we're going to have a new exhibit. It'll be ALCOSAN through the years. And this will be in the Great Hall in our O&M building, and you'll be able to see the progression of ALCOSAN over the decades. So we're really, really excited about that, and equally excited that Carnegie Science Center is going to return, along with our other external vendors. And we're going to have a photo booth so that all of our participants, all of our guests are able to take away a memorable photo from our event. Along with our very popular plant tours, we're also excited to have our ECF lab preview tours of our new building. So we're really excited about that this year. And in addition to that, like every great host, we feed you. We will not only have box lunches, but we'll also have popcorn and cotton candy for all to enjoy. And where you can find us. We're on our website. Please go to our website. I strongly encourage you to go to our website. We have our save the date information on there. We also have our social media platforms at hashtag ALCOSAN Open House 2024, hashtag ALCOSAN OHD24 as well. You'll also hear information on our open house on iHeart radio stations. And then we're really, really excited that our summer sweeps is going to go live next week. Please pre-register. It's gone live today. You can pre-register on our website. We encourage you to do that sooner than later. And then finally, we look forward to seeing you on Saturday, September 14th, as previously mentioned. Come rain or shine, we will be here, and we hope you will as well. So thank you very much from our ALCOSAN family, and I'll take any questions that you may have.
So Kim, one of the questions that the county executive asks a lot about ALCOSAN is how are you going to communicate to not just the municipal customers, but get the word out across the region that is served?
Yeah, so as I mentioned previously, Darla, we have our social media platforms. We are attending all outreach events within our municipalities, which, as you know, or I should say, throughout our region, and most specifically within our municipalities, we have our save the date cards. And in fact, Darla, you can help with that. You can help distribute some of our save the date cards to those within your network.
So do you have a list of the community outreach places you're going, or
Absolutely.
are you going to be hitting all of the national night out that is happening in the next couple of weeks?
Yeah,
So you have all that? That would be helpful, because
Yeah.
I know our new communications director is very interested in the way ALCOSAN puts the word out, and it's been a bit of a discussion. So if you could share that information, how you're getting out there, that would be helpful.
Absolutely.
So I can pass that on.
Oh, absolutely. Here's what I suggest. Please, either you or your communications rep, please get in touch with me. We also have all of our upcoming events, outreach events on our website. We did attend all of the Bike Pittsburgh Open Streets events. We are scheduled to attend Aspen Walls Community. I think it's their big night out. We have approximately 7 different events for the month of August. So if you need that information, I'm very happy to share.
So you know how to reach me, and that would be helpful. Thanks.
That'll be great. And so, as I mentioned, I'm here for open house, if you just pass those down.
I wanted to let you know that August 10th is Braddock's Community Day. You might already have it on your schedule.
We may. I don't think we do. I think we did do an event in Braddock previously, but I'm certainly willing to take that information to there. If you want to pass that along.
Yeah, I think today was the last day unless you know you want to be there, I can possibly get out. a table.
Yeah.
If you want a table as.
Yeah, why don't we talk afterwards?
Oh.
I'm more than happy to speak with you. Yes, Lisa?
Kim, in the past, you had things, and you say those external vendors.
Mm-hmm.
We used to get an email as a nonprofit watershed organization, we used to get an email, inviting us to apply for a table and space. We don't get that anymore, and I wasn't sure how, if we wanted to attend, how we would go about that.
Okay, well, why don't we talk afterwards? I'm more than happy to speak to you about that. And I'll make sure that you get the information.
Great, thank you.
Okay, great. Any other questions or any? Yeah.
Consider hooking up with a media agency like WDB to have their day here on your day.
Well, we actually have a media partner that we're working with, Tim, iHeartRadio.
Yeah.
And also, our deputy director did do some interviews. I believe it was KDKA, Doug? A couple of different media platforms. But we're certainly willing maybe next year to explore that, Tim. It may be too late for us now, but.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes like WDB does an event at the event.
Mhm.
You know,
We're also gonna have radio stations here, so we can maybe get them on our radar for next year.
Good.
Okay, great. All right, so if any of you have any additional questions, please reach out to me. Those of you who I did speak with, I look forward to following up with you regarding information after the meeting. Okay, great. Is that all? Terrific, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, moving on, we're gonna get a report from Jeannie Clark, a survey that she's undertaken on our working groups.
Well, when last we met, we
Yes.
reviewed the initial survey results, and there was a discussion, and there was a request, and I agreed to it to send out to people again, the same thing that we had set up before. Well, that was just a couple hours before I was going into surgery, and frankly, it just went out of my mind, and then I was gone for 2 months. So I was gonna suggest that I just review with you what we had said last time, and then send out a new, this group could make some choices, and then I could send out a survey to all of them about it, if you think that will work. We only had a universe of 6 people. And in some cases, 4 people on some of the questions. We had interest, people who had attended meetings on regionalization, plan expansion, growth, flow reduction. And they did not attend on clean water. The people that filled out the form didn't turn out on clean water assistance fund. And I think we had people on green leave behinds. I think there was a discussion that maybe we didn't need to really talk about green leave behinds until we get closer to the tunnels being actually put in. And when it was the decision, 3 people answered the question of, is that something we should do in 2024? One said not sure, one said no, and one said yes, but. If we,
What a decisive group.
what was recommended from this body no, this was from the survey. If we continue, what should we do? And there were 4 answers to that. Toolkits for energizing the community, which include less is more fact sheets to summarize technical reports. Second, planned expansion, regionalization, I guess that's 1. Increase of growth. We'll put the increase in parens. And deeper dive into finance and rates. Whether there was anything we could do to make the advisory committee meetings better for the advisory committee, and the answer was no real idea. And Dan DeMarco suggested we need more responses. We could, I think, survey these same things again, but it won't necessarily mean much. So if this group wants to make a decision, it's clear nobody wanted to continue them as is in terms of the time and all of the topics we did. So, because these working groups belong to the advisory committee, I'm going to publicize the schedule. So I guess the first question to discuss is, we want to do them. for the last half of the city, or the year.
I personally thought that they, at least the ones that I attended, were productive. But I think that it might behoove us to, I mean, what the problem was is that there were so many and people signed up I mean, you couldn't attend all of them in 1 month. It was just, you know, it was just impossible to do it with people's schedules. So I'm thinking that, maybe we sort of combine like issues. I don't know if that might work. And the attendance might be better. I mean, the fact is like how many people, like, let's be really honest, how many people are actually on this committee and how many people show up for the meetings? So there's a disconnect right there. And then when you add the working groups in, because there were so many of them, you were only going to get 2 or 3 people at each one. So maybe we need to rethink how often, how many, in the context of folks, and just really thinking about the folks who attend the meetings regularly, these meetings regularly. Let's forget, I mean, there was all those people who never show up.
Well, we got this tonight, we got the majority of the members to this meeting.
Right, but still, there's a lot of people who just don't show up. And so if we're looking at a survey, we can count on those people not answering the survey.
Can I ask a question? Cause I'm, you know, forgive me for not remembering. I kind of remember a conversation about, did we accomplish anything? Did something change because of those meetings? Did we change how we do something or how we think about something or how we handle something? Or were they more just of educational pieces for members of the committee to learn on? I mean, I think it depends on what we want them to be. We're calling them working groups, but what are we working on? We can't work on rates.
No.
We can't work on rates. We can't, you know, so I think we need to, yeah, so, you know, I think that's what we have to figure out is what the end game is of these instead of just scheduling something.
Yeah.
Then people may come or may not come, you know, I think the committee needs to determine that.
Yeah, well, again, like plant expansion, like what can we do about plant expansion? Nothing, you know, so there probably shouldn't be a working group on plant expansion. And I mean, rates, I think, is interesting in that we can't really change rates, but what we can do is sort of explore how many folks in the municipalities, how many folks are actually getting complaints, how many complaints per community, and how many folks who are complaining about rates are eligible for the assistance program.
That goes back to the conversation we had about the additional outreach for the customer assistance plan and how important that outreach is.
And we have negotiated with Dollar Energy for them to do more, to do outreach. And one of the things that they're working on is looking at all of the utilities that they provide services for, finding the ALCOSAN ratepayers, and they're going to be contacting them and say, unless you say no, we're going to attach you to ALCOSAN's customer assistance fund.
See, the tricky part with that is in many cases.
And we're working with
In many cases, they're renters. And you can't get a discount if you're a renter. Like we're grateful that in Hampton Shaler, we have Hampton Shaler Water, we have a policy set up for renters to for them to reach out to the owner to apply on behalf of the renter. But in many, many cases, the people that probably need it the most are renters and they can't get it anyway. So we talk a lot about, pardon me?
And the owner.
Yeah, and the owner doesn't care. So, you know, we talk about maybe not enough people are getting in, not enough people are getting it, and that's true, that's gonna always be true, but maybe they can't. But we gotta figure out that.
Well, I can tell you from the analysis I've done with Dollar Energy, is there has been a major change in people's behavior, in terms of social service agencies, looking for help, et cetera. And so we're looking at ways to make it far easier for them to do it. Dollar Energy still relies on, to a great extent, on social service agencies, but the social service agencies are having a really hard time staffing or even continuing to exist.
North Hills Community Avenue.
Yeah.
The utilities. I think they're doing.
So we're working with all of the other utilities. We're gonna be supporting one another in taking out. Dollar Energy has people go door to door. They're gonna be carrying stuff too. We're gonna have one staff member out in the field from governmental affairs. You know, good portion of the time. We already set up to go to Sharpsburg because I found out that their tax, they use Jordan Tax for all their taxes. Jordan Tax comes to the borough a couple times a year to accept checks. And so we're gonna be there too. We are looking specifically at places where we can reach out to homeowners. We're also prioritizing lower income communities as where we start first, because we figure those are the folks who need it the most, and that's where we're gonna get the best credit. So clearly by the fourth quarter, I expect that we're gonna be seeing growth in it.
So I mean, I used to know this better, but, you know, most renters, do they pay water? Water is it's lienable, right? And so my experience over the years with people that have called with concerns is the owner pays the water and sewer and passes on the cost to the renter, right? So the renter doesn't even pay because if the water and sewer bill doesn't get paid.
It's probably 50-50.
Because if somebody's renting a house,
Yeah,
they're paying. the
yeah,
water.
your utilities are not
Are not
included. Those ones are not included.
Then it goes to the landowner.
Then it goes to the
So
landowner.
we've been telling owners,
Yeah.
do yourself a favor, pay the bill and that.
Yeah.
Every 2 months, send them an adjustment to rent. And that number is kicked up dramatically for our operations. Has ALCOSAN done an analysis of if you start giving a lot of aid, that's gonna affect your rates. Are you funding the rate?
Well, that's the issue. One of the reasons we restricted to homeowners is, one of the many reasons is because we want to be very prudent with the ratepayers' money on providing this service.
So if they're kicking the homeowner, the renter's not getting help. But the answer is gonna be that the homeowner, who is also the landlord, is gonna say, do I get aid? Yeah, then I'm your guy.
That the homeowner won't qualify
The
for
homeowner.
aid unless they're also low
But
income.
they'll probably show you that the renters.
Well,
See,
again, we're
that's-
trying to keep this.
How does it work
relatively
then?
simple because we do not.
Assume renters are poor though.
Yeah.
With our-
I'm gonna assume that.
Right, that's the thing. Would be interesting
Staff
to do them.
meetings. Could you do a 1-day seminar and knock it all out?
Mhm, mhm.
Just get all of us, come up with a date, we come down, we spend a day, we go through all of the issues, we knock it out one day, we're done.
Right.
And could you do the 80? I mean, look, there's 82 communities, right? And can you do, like, just figure out how you go to each municipality?
We're starting high
Right.
with the lowest income communities as a whole. Because one of the things we want to do is make sure we're reaching out to the folks most in need, plus.
But they have to be a
the program
homeowner,
we're
right?
developing, we're
That
gonna
may
be,
not even matter.
you know, we're gonna be constantly
Yeah.
looking to see, is this working the way we're doing it? You know, in the past, some of the outreach was handled by other departments who also had other reasons to be out. We'll be out there, my division will be out there simply for clean water assistance fund. So,
Oh, Michelle? Yeah, so, there's a comment on the
Oh,
screen. I just want to
I'm
make sure.
sorry, I can't even
Yeah,
see
that's
that.
okay. I
I can see the screen, but I can't see.
So I'll go through it. And it's from Will Pickering at PWSA, and he said PWSA has developed a relatively successful process for renters to enroll in our assistance programs. Our team would be happy to share. So perhaps since,
and I
this is a
have been in
topic
touch
and
with
it
that
was
team.
at, the working group, this, I think this was one of the topics for the working groups.
Yeah.
Perhaps, since this agenda today's agenda was a survey of the working groups, perhaps this is some takeaway, Jean, for a future agenda topic. And
Sure.
maybe as Tim said, for, you know,
Yeah.
something that, a topic of interest, it seems like we have a
A
lot.
whole day of work, a workshop or something.
Right.
Because Hampton Shaler does that too. How do you do it and how do we get that word to the other?
Right.
Part of the question is, where is our governance? And
Yeah.
we all do.
Yeah, so I mean, it's been done before.
Right.
And so like, let's not try to reinvent everything. Let's look at best models and take away the best ideas from the best models that we see that are appropriate for this.
So we're in the process, we will be in the market right after open house with bus ads, mailers, all sorts of outreach material and outreach messages, social media, the entire thing. And it's gonna be very direct to people in need while being very supportive of people in need. So, it's based on kind of the most recent research on communicating and how do you get people's attention. People have-
Tina, did you have?
Yeah, I do have a question. Just because I don't remember, I'm assuming that qualifications are based on a certain percentage of HUD's median income?
Right,
Is it 60, 80? What is it?
150.
Oh, okay.
And if they get lucky, right?
Yeah, that's the other thing, yeah.
If you already get a service, so if I get lucky
Right,
and Dollar Energy automatically enrolls me,
right.
they need to have proof that I'm paying those
Right,
bills.
and that's where we're picking up
So,
those ALCOSAN
Yeah,
ratepayers that should have had that application done. That's part of our original contract with Dollar Energy, and it just didn't follow, it didn't happen. So they're developing all sorts of electronic tools and I'm gonna be out there briefing all of their agencies about what our system is like, who's in the system. We have follow the flush that we're using people to do the first cut when they're just talking to them about whether they're ALCOSAN ratepayer. So they'll know whether people don't even know whether they're in, and the agencies don't know whether they live in the ALCOSAN territory. So that's number one. So our whole idea is getting help for your sewer bill is as easy as 1, 2, 3.
Right.
Figure out if you're an ALCOSAN customer. 2, apply. We're working to get an online application as well as through the agencies. 3, provide proof and you're in. We have to, people are very busy with it's not regarding income. Our brains have changed since 2015 and the advent of social media and everything else, that now it's a 5-second attention span. You have to be real direct in your messages. So we are working on all of that. And we're working with all of the agencies that provide customer assistance funds to work together.
Do you get calls from people who are looking for assistance? Because when calls come into either the municipality or the authority, we refer them out.
Right.
We're basically throwing you guys under the bus.
And I think, you know, for the customer service, fund, I do think if that was like on an agenda item, we would have the people here that can share that information. Since that wasn't an agenda item on this meeting, I think it needs to be, obviously, as a group, you guys select your agenda, but on today's agenda, we would have the information that you would be looking for, you know, on the agenda item. Since this item was a survey on working groups, I think, Jean, if you have anything else to say about the working groups. I think we could prepare for this topic.
Yeah.
We just don't have the people in the room right now that could have.
So Michelle, one of the things, I mean, Pitcairn is the customer, correct?
Mhm.
Yeah. So Pitcairn has a rental registry.
Okay.
So if you look at the municipalities that may still have, I mean, using, of course, PWSA's idea, but if you look at people that have rental registries, then you'd be able to maybe suss that out as a pilot in some way, right? To be able to
Our
understand.
pilots are gonna be in the lowest income
Yeah.
communities to see what works there and where we have to change.
But again, you know, getting to that point about ALCOSAN, but if you guys getting phone calls, people don't know that ALCOSAN is
Yeah,
their
That's
sewage,
why we're going,
and
that's, yeah,
sewer service.
that's why
They
we're
don't
going
know
out
that.
with the advertising.
Because the bill comes from the municipality.
But is the bill unbundled? Our bill's unbundled. Shaler, Alcosan, water. So there's a 6-line bill that unbundles charges.
Well,
the rest of them.
mine isn't because I get PA American water and then I get a bill from PWSA for my sewage.
Okay.
So not everybody.
And PWSA
Can
doesn't
we
call
get-
out Alcosan?
I mean, I've never looked
Yes.
at it comes, I'm sure it does, but I'm saying,
Yes.
I'm not looking, other people aren't looking.
Can you know what you're talking about?
Yeah, because this seems like this needs to be a working group thing.
Yes.
So that's on tonight, okay, so let's make this a working group.
I agree.
Assessment about how many working groups we should have. One working.
One
group.
day, for everything in one day.
Yeah, I don't think we have to set a number, because I think that, you know, what do we want to talk about? What do we need to know? You know, and that's it. So there's, obviously, this is a big one. This was a big topic.
Well, if we want to keep kind of a working group, you know, relatively short, you know, where people can just dig into one or a couple things, which was what the model was before. I think one of the problems was we picked the same time for every meeting, which if it wasn't bad for you once, it probably wasn't bad for you.
Yeah.
All the time.
Yeah, right.
Right. And we were also doing multiple ones a month, which was very difficult. So maybe I'm thinking we pick a couple and we have one or two during the 3 quarters or the quarter. And we have them at different times. You don't like that? Okay.
Only because we can't get a quorum.
Mm-hmm.
So.
We don't need a quorum for.
No, right, but what I'm saying is,
Decisions.
no, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying is, if your expectation is to get some people here, if you're dragging them down here more than once or twice, you're not gonna get them.
Right.
What I'm suggesting is one day, pick out the number of hours you need to do it and be done. Get it all done. in 1 day.
Well, it's obviously helpful when we all have the back and forth, so having the more people there. To have that back and forth like we were having now, and maybe that is how you do it, you just do it all in one day. Cause then you're getting those people to. Respond to multiple things. We're not just
These are the
talking
things
about,
we're talking about at this meeting.
yeah, like have one workshop day. Just call it the workshop, no. Workshop on working groups, I don't know.
Yeah.
But, and go from there, cause, and I don't know, I can't read this, do we have some more we have comments, but I can't read.
Yeah.
Danielle had said I need to jump off. I have another meeting to get to, and you can count me in for a working group on the assistant fund. That was from Will. So maybe that's good things to take away, and Jean can recirculate the comments and develop
Yeah.
what it.
Let's have a 1-day workshop.
Okay, so I will send a survey out about times and topics for a 1-day workshop.
Yep.
Will that work?
Good.
People can give up 1 day where it's harder to pick and
Yeah.
choose to come 4 times a year for 1
Yeah.
hour.
Okay.
Okay, moving on. Thank you for everyone for their input. We good, Jean? Is that helpful?
Yeah.
Is that helpful? Okay,
They're
there.
expected to pick that
All right, now we have Kimberly Kennedy to give us an update on the plan expansion and the modifications to the clean water plant. Sorry,
Yeah, no problem.
I'm used to telling you how the plant.
Yeah. Well, this actually is about the plant. So, let's wait for this to
Okay, so since our last advisory committee meeting, we had a public meeting. That public meeting took place on June 20th. It was entirely virtual, so it is posted on our YouTube channel. You can watch it at any time. It was a very well-rounded overview of all of the pillars of the Clean Water Plan. Tim gave a great update on grow. Julia did a great job on regionalization. We talked about the tunnels, Sean Williams talked about the tunnels, and then we had a plan expansion overview by our manager of capital projects, Jeff Ardross. So in addition, this year of just our general public meeting, we also have a revision request going into the agencies in 2024 in August. And part of our responsibility when we have a revisions request is that we give public notice. So we did that at the same time as our public meeting this year, which took place on June 20th. So tonight, I'm just going to talk about the slides with respect to the revision request and what's going on here at the plant. So this is the this is what I normally talk about, right? So this is the plant expansion. This is all 13 projects associated with the plant expansion that we're trying to squeeze in here up to the front door. So you can see that 5 of them are shown as complete. We've got 4 of them that are still in design, but they are on schedule. We've got 2 that are in construction, but on schedule. That would be the environmental compliance facility and the East Headworks. And then up there shown in yellow are the 2 projects I'm going to dive into a little bit of detail about tonight. And that's package 4, the CSO bypass and disinfection, and package 1, the North End plant expansion. And those 2 projects make up the components of what we're asking the agencies for in the 2024 revision request.
And the agencies are EPA.
The EPA, the DEP, and the health department. Yep. So this is the exact same information in tabular form. The one update since the June 20th public meeting is that the solids thickening and dewatering project, it was actually issued for bid last week. And so that's out there. There's 4, we have the multi-prime. So there's a general electrical, HVAC, and a plumbing contract associated with solids thickening and dewatering. But more information on that project can be found at our website, and bids are going to open September 6th for a potential September award. The other thing that we're pretty proud of is that everything has gone through the procurement process for design. So we no longer have through the RFQ, RFP for design, and now we're just finishing designs and managing the construction. And so this is our latest dashboard that was actually shown at our June board meeting. But the 2 key number indicators that I'd like to present are the $340 million that we have issued for contracts, and that we're just crossed the $250 million threshold for work that's already been completed. So we've been pretty busy down here, and we're continue to push pretty hard to meet these deadlines. So this is, again, just to kind of refocus our attention. The first project I'm going to talk about is the North End plant expansion. Oh, well, what I'm going to talk about now is the actual revision request. So, we always talk about the plant's going to go to 600 MGD, but there's these interim milestones to get to the 600, and that is 295 and then the 480. So a lot of times we don't get into that granular detail, but there are interim milestones built into the CD. The way that it is written right now, those place and operation dates are actually 1 day apart, which would be pretty difficult. So right now, the 295 is scheduled for December 31st, 2025. And then the 480 is December 30th, a day earlier. What we're asking for in this revision request is to actually pull up the 295 by 3 months, and would get that place in operation date of the full secondary treatment increase to 295 by October 3rd of 2025. And then a shift of 9 months for the 480 MGD. And I'll talk to you about that and why that is. So this is the ask of the 2024 revision request. So here's our north end plant expansion. I've been showing you pictures of this since it went into construction in August of 2020. But we've got these 4 components completed now, or near completion, and these components of the north end plant expansion are due to go online early next year. However, there are 2 additional components that still need to be advanced, and all of those boxes together will get us to the 295. So even though we're gonna put the secondary effluent conduit extension, the final disinfection tank and the new outfall into operation early next year, we still have to finish the east final settling tank 9 and the west final settling tank 9 before we can hydraulically treat 295. And that'll happen ahead of schedule by October of next year. It is, because that's capturing smaller, more frequent storms. And that will make a difference in the collection system. So this project is the area of it is so vast, it needs to be actually shown in 2 photographs here, but this is the CSO bypass and disinfection. So what's happening here, these are our primary sedimentation tanks, these are our aeration tanks. So anything that's getting full secondary flow is going to continue north through the aeration tanks to the new north end plant expansion. Anything above 295 is going to be come down this roadway right here into what is now our disinfection tank, but will be repurposed for the purposes of this project. And that will be the wet weather outfall. So I'm going to focus in on this side. So this is the project, and it is, to put it mildly, highly complex construction. So this is the wall of our primary sed tanks that were built in the 1950s. This is the wall of our aeration tanks that were built in the 70s. And I would be comfortable saying that this area hasn't been disturbed for 50 years. And we have to keep everything in service. So the work is slow, it's methodical, we have to be careful. There's a pipe tunnel in the middle of it, all of those things. So, progress is being made, but progress is perhaps a little slower than, we anticipated. And then this used to be a building that was demolished, and it will be the location of the chemical building for the repurposed chlorine contact tank. So that work is progressing. What needs to happen next is early next year, when we start to send the flow all north and treat, and not treat 295, but use the secondary effluent conduit extension, use the new chlorine contact tank, and use the new outfall, we can turn this tank off for the first time ever since it's been placed in operation, decommission it, and reconfigure it to be the bypass tank. But that work cannot start until the new tank is placed in operation early next year. So the ask with respect to the 480 9-month delay is to take that from December of next year to October of 2026. So, and this is kind of what I mentioned. This is kind of just showing that, as a reminder, our treatment capacity is 250, but our average daily flow is like 190, 200. We don't get to 250 unless we're in a rain event of some sort, or a snow melt event, some type of wet weather event is when we get a 250. So the 295 is actually will be a more frequent occurrence. So we'll be able to capture more combined sewer overflows 3 months faster than originally planned. The 480 that we're asking for the 9-month relief on is obviously a much larger and a more infrequent storm, but that is, a little tougher to get to quicker because of the complexity of the construction. So that was what we went over at the public meeting. Prior to the public meeting, we did send notices to our municipal customers on the June 11th, the 18th, and the 20th. And then we also put notifications on the website, on Facebook, Instagram, and X. And then we opened up a 30-day public comment period. So I went through this, the public meeting, how, people were most comfortable submitting a public comment. That comment period closed, at the end of July. We did not receive any comments specific, about the schedule, the revision request. So, and we also did meet with the agencies to talk to them about this, kind of get them thinking about it. And we got their feedback on what we should put in our request. So the next thing for us to do is to button that all up. We'll submit that in August. And then the agencies get a 6-month review period. So that's all I had on the 2024 revision request, but I'd be happy to take any questions if you have them. Yep, Tim?
First of all, great job.
Thanks.
How are you doing related? How are you doing budget to act on construction? Are you running into a lot of changes?
No, I mean, we had a soil issue on the north end. That was our first project out of the gate. And then we course corrected with the specifications. And so we kind of put that one to bed. And the other projects, I mean, it's been well below industry standard. I mean, it's a constant battle, but our team, the construction managers, I think that we're pretty careful about the budget and what we're working with, and yeah, we manage it pretty carefully.
So other than the soil issue, you haven't run into anything else?
Well, the other one was the pump stations. If you remember the smaller job, the return activated sludge pump stations, we weren't gonna rebuild them.
Mhm.
But when we were just gonna cut in some new doors and sort of reuse the bones, but then when we cut into them, it was structurally unsafe. So we had to cut a change order to rebuild those buildings so that they could handle the weight of the monorail and everything else we were putting in. So that one went over like an industry standard, but still relatively small in the course of the plant expansion. Yeah.
And some of that information is provided in the annual report as well, like the budget to actuals in every annual report.
Okay.
The 9-month extension, are you expecting any supply chain issues from pushing it out?
No, now, see, we did have some pretty big equipment in that one, but we made sure that they ordered it very, very, got on top of that. Because that one we awarded in 2022, so we were already COVID aware of the supply chain issue, a little smarter than, some of our earlier projects. Good question, thank you.
Thank you so much.
All right.
And congratulations.
Yeah, you do an excellent job on such.
Too soon. I need approval. Well, I'm heading up because I'm next too.
I just wanted to give her, I should have done this at the beginning of the meeting. I would have sent her regrets that she couldn't make the meeting. And our board member, Teresa Kale Smith, has been having some technology issues. She's trying to attend the meeting. So hopefully she'll make it before the end.
Thank you.
All right, so I'm next.
Now, Kim Kennedy, I wanna do.
All right. Switching gears. So we are, ALCOSAN is pleased to be hosting our next Ohio River Tunnel Contractor Outreach event on August 27th. So we're gonna be down at the Circuit Center at the end of Hot Metal Street Bridge in the south side. Not only are we going to talk about the tunnel this time, but we're also going to get into some details on the wet weather pump station, because that project is also going to bid next year, and it's bigger than anything we bid so far to date that I've just talked about, which aren't small. So it's earned its right to have a session in the morning session on the agenda. And then in the afternoon, so it's in the morning, but in the afternoon, if for the contractors and small businesses that are interested, there will be optional tours to the core shed wwhere we have all of our geotechnical borings for folks to take a look at.
What? That sounds interesting.
Well, I mean,
Well,
You know well enough that it would be. How are you identifying? Okay, I see that. Sorry.
So, right, so, right now we have 300 of this morning, we have 309 people registered. We have over 50 companies that are interested in tabling, and we do not have that much space, so we just had a call at 4 o'clock to try and figure out how we can add more tables, but also see if people can present together, like share a table, if you know that you are teamed already, or if you, if your small business works and it makes a lot of sense to be with somebody else, we're gonna have to squeeze in to this event space. And it's a wonderful mix of companies, primes, small businesses, specialty contractors. You know, we're gonna have to make some tough decisions, but I mean, people can come regardless. It's just the tabling, I think, that we didn't expect over 50 people at a table. And I think there was some confusion. I mean, this isn't a conference. This is a contractor and small business outreach event specifically to try and give small businesses information of what work and and components of the projects are a good fit.
Yeah.
So that they have enough time to prepare themselves for when this hits the streets and you're not just, you know, caught trying to catch up after the fact. So there's a very specific reason why we're having this event, and it's really important.
But I know that you all look at the MBWBE issues. Have you reached out or somebody reached out to Lisa Edmonds at Equity and Inclusion at the county? Just to get, okay, good.
Yeah,
get their
and
list.
we've also
Perfect.
shared, made sure that we use
Thank you.
Suzanne's, databases from firms that were registered and pushed it out to them too.
Terrific, thank you very much.
Yeah, no problem. So, this is our agenda. So, you know, we're gonna have a pretty long session in the morning, pretty technical, but it's also really important to get, you know, without sharing the plans, really getting some exposure to what the details of the projects are gonna look like. Then we're gonna have a nice break for networking, and then when we come back after the networking break, we're gonna get into the kind of the front end, you know, our procurement, what our expectations for small businesses are, and then what opportunities, and really try to drive, be a little bit more specific this time, now that we're at post 90% design, we have that information. And then these are some, I kind of grabbed the presentation and just grab the title slide of each of the slides for the small businesses, but we go into detail on the early site prep and what's involved with that, the subcontracting, opportunities, equipment, material, specialty vendors, support services, and then the, all of the things associated with the temporary construction facility. So, and then we give, if there are primes in the room that perhaps haven't done business in this region, contact information, where to go to, they need to be in a position to be ready to bid as well. So again, August 27th, I look forward to giving you a summary of a successful event at the next meeting.
Thank you very, very much. Excellent job as usual.
I'm excited. I want to see the core.
We want to see the samples. Yeah. You have like women here that like, you have a lot of women in this room. that like. Yeah.
We need a.
Yeah. All right, next on the agenda, we have Tim Priebus. He's gonna give us a little update on growth.
Thank you. All right, Marielle, thank everybody else on the committee. I'm here to give a very brief grow update. I'm sure everybody would like to enjoy their night. So before I start jumping into this topic, applications for cycle 9, finished our cycle last September. Over $63 million in awards have been given out over the past 8 cycles for 159 projects. We estimated roughly about 213 million gallons of overflow reduction. 93 projects have submitted and we've reviewed and accepted their final reports. Final reports from all of this. The amount of water we've taken out of the system is over 1 billion gallons of water taken out. And we're almost at the 200 million gallon of overflow reduction based on the monitoring done and, you know, our analysis of those final reports. So about 93 projects done of the 159. It's almost 60% of the projects are done. And so we're on to cycle 9. Most of the municipal folks in the room might be aware of our schedule in GROW. We have the process begins with a letter of interest. And back in February through March of 2024, the municipalities had an opportunity to put together a letter of interest for the projects. Handful of projects we already knew about, we waived them, but altogether 37 projects in cycle 9. Now this was a big improvement from previous cycles where we were getting less than 2 a cycle. This is definitely a function of the consent order agreements. Everybody's planned it out, they now know what they have to do, and they knew that GROW was there to help them with the finances. For these 37 projects, over $46 million in value were identified in these projects. And then what we do is we bookend them. Minimum match 15%, maximum match is 85%. And if every project got a minimum or a maximum, a little shy of 7 to almost over $39 million. We go through each of the letters of interest, and then we invite projects. So some of the projects weren't quite there yet. We let them know, give them the opportunity to talk about those projects. But of the 37, 34 got invited. Now you see a little asterisk there on the I&I. One municipality that we all know very well gave me a massively huge project. And it was so big that I requested, hey, you got to break this down a little bit. We did a lot of monitoring in this municipality, and they followed that suggestion very well. Because now we have 33 I&I projects. We have 4 applications from cycle 9 for sewer separation, and 1 that we from the last cycle, we gave them an extended review, which means we know this is a good project, but it's not all quite there. We're going to give you more time to make it a good project. And then we had 1 project that was a combination of green and sewer separation. DSIR, direct stream inflow removal, kind of rare projects, very impactful, but we didn't get any there. And SO projects are system optimization projects where the project has an immediate reaction to overflow reduction, fixing a pump, upsizing a pipe, something that is going to address an overflow. For those 39 projects, the value of those were over $35 million, bookending those 5.3 to just over $30 million in value. We received all these applications at the end of June, and we are now in the midst of application review. So today is the end of July, we're right smack in the middle. What we do is field investigations. We do model runs to simulate the projects before they're implemented, after they're implemented. We do budget reviews, we do constructability reviews. We go through every aspect of the application to determine what is that match going to be.
I'm sorry, I have to interrupt.
I see that.
Oh, there's an.
It's like it comes down on the test.
Well, I just thought it was raining in here and then I thought maybe I was experiencing like a flashback from the '70s and like
Some condensation from.
Oh, okay.
I think it's condensation.
it's condensation.
It's the air conditioning.
AC.
Tell us more about this stuff.
Yeah, it's.
Yeah, okay. So we have scheduled, we're going to get, we're going to do these road projects and it's gonna be great. For the Green Committee at the end, in September. Upcoming grow schedule usually grows an annual cycle. So municipal workshops and annually, right now we're application review, can I slow down now? But knowing that municipalities need help, we're moving grow from an annual cycle to a semi-annual cycle, so every 6 months. So where we're at right now, well, we're in the we just finished up municipal workshops for cycle 10. We reached out with Three Rivers, we, reached out to as many people as we could, told them the schedule. If you want to meet with us, meet with us. And we had a few meetings with some of the municipalities. We talk about the available information that's there, flow monitoring, if we did it or if they did it. We talk about the consent order agreements. We talk about how effective certain areas might be for source reduction. In the end, trying to figure out, is this a good, strong grow project? We know what the consent order agreements are all about. We know what their requirements are going to be for the municipalities. Sometimes we identify the projects, a lot of times municipalities have already identified these COA projects. And as we're talking, if there are resources that we can provide to the municipality, we identify that, we offer it to them. It could be flow monitoring, it can be taking an early look at the project and run the models as if it were an application to give them a little bit more certainty about where that match might be. So right now in cycle 10, we're right there, end of July. Today we sent out 5 waiver letters to 5 municipalities for the projects that they identified. Tomorrow, over 90 letters will go out to municipalities and sewer authorities, letting them know that cycle 10 has begun. If you have questions, please reach out to us. We're here to help. We're still keeping an eye on September 18th, which is the Green Committee. It's at the Green Committee where we present our recommendations for Cycle 9. And also we have Cycle 9 awards. We have to review the agreements, Cycle 10 program guidelines, Max, and mandate modifications. It's going to be a very busy meeting in September. And presuming that we get through the approvals there, that goes to the September board meeting. And then we're going straight to letter of interest development from September. Those when the LOIs are going to be due. So starting tomorrow through the end of September, municipalities develop their letters of interest. The grow team will review those letters of interest in October, and on November 1st, we will we'll go out and we will invite the projects. And then at the same time, Cycle 11's municipal workshops are going to start in October. So this process where we had a little bit of a break, now we decide, well, who needs breaks? We don't get any more breaks until this is done. So October through early January, we'll have those municipal workshops while the municipalities are developing their applications. January 31st, 2025, Cycle 11 waiver letters go out February 1st. Next, Cycle 11 letters of interest notice will go out. So a very busy next several months. The whole team's up to the challenge. We're we're keeping up as best as we possibly can. Thank you, and if there are any questions?
I have one too.
Yeah, so a couple of questions all in a row so that you can just answer them. How much money is left in the pot for distribution? And then there were two pretty detailed studies that were done that looked at wet areas here in the system, right? And are we still using those? And if we are we looking at the reduction and what's happening in terms of the reduction in those wetter areas?
Answer your first question, we've awarded a little over 63 million, so we have a little less than 37 million left to award. I think you're referring to starting at the source and controlling the source.
Yeah.
Those are still documents that are being utilized.
Perfect.
We've updated controlling the source with overflow reduction efficiencies based on the full-blown selected. At the same time, we've also been going through the interim wet weather plan and identifying each of the phases. Plan expansion, Ohio Tunnel, Mon Tunnel, Allegheny Tunnel, and how those various phases, when they're implemented, how does that impact the project itself? And then the final reports, so that's where we start showing where the impacts of all these projects have come. And a lot of the impacts from a majority of these projects have been I&I projects, lining jobs, and it's been getting water out of the system. And so far, everything's been going well. A vast majority of the projects perform better than we anticipated. Small, minority of them don't perform as well, but we still learn from them.
As part of the awards that you've done around green infrastructure and measuring the reduction. Are you, I know at one point we talked about this, so are you still doing kind of like that post-construction monitoring?
It's a
So that you
mandatory
can
thing.
see if it's been effective?
Yeah,
I'm curious at some point if we can put this on another agenda, but looking at the effectiveness
sure.
of what you've seen around that, because I think we've all moved.
Run all the projects.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right. Like we've
Yeah.
moved from like all green
Yeah.
to green gray to understanding what the most effective projects are.
If Andy Potts right now, who's on the green team, is listening to this, you probably just made his day. Because he would love to be able to dive into and show how the effectiveness of each of these. Now, keep in mind, the green projects and majority of the green projects took place in the city of Pittsburgh in cycles 1 and 2.
Yeah.
And we're just starting to get the results of those. And they did a very thorough monitoring program. Mary Ellen, we've done a lot of monitoring in Etna. So more recent green projects have been few and far between. There's still the expectation. We have far more I&I projects, we have far more sewer separation projects, and we can show you all of them. The last stream project we did in Sharpsburg. We anticipated it was roughly gonna be about 25 million gallons of overflow reduction based on monitoring.
Say, get off. I owe you. Stevie, get your phone.
Oh, my.
Exciting. For like, sorry, because I can do something. It's super.
I think it's not condensation, I think there might be
Oh, wait.
a leak. Because we're not to get that wet back there.
The gods heard us.
Global warming.
Mary Ellen.
I know. Why? I did have a question for him.
It was actually the Sharpsburg project.
Yeah.
We thought 20 million, we did monitoring, we're estimating about 40 million gallons of over reduction. Yeah, it was a straight through there and we put the monitor back in there to measure it, so. Delafield would be, it depends on the direction that they want it to be a stream removal, but it might end up, to do that, it might need to be.
Hear about me.
You're so welcome. Anybody have your agenda? I know what the hell I'm talking.
I'm just super glad that Zoom folks are focused on me and not what you're having. So. Yeah, I love it.
I tried. And this is personal, but I'm asking on a bigger level. You know, we have the sewer separation project, which was recommended to us, just is growing and I'm chasing money after money. Every time I think I have enough, I have, I had got my match for what we needed. Then the project went up a couple $100,000. I got a second grant. Was so happy last December. Called my buddy Shaler to say we're covered for everything. And now I get an email from my engineering company. It's, I need $175,000 more. We have, the sewer separation is completely out of our reach.
This is not an abnormal situation, and the recommendation that you have an award right now. But if things have changed. Just resubmit, put a second letter of interest, or if you wanted to wait till. Cycle 11, get a little bit more certainty, we talk a little bit more about it. Understanding that when I talk with you and your engineers, they're costing you money. But if the
This
project.
is gonna be my consent order project.
And I mean, it's, do we, and
Yeah,
getting those streams out is, it's gonna have an impact. There's so many overflows along the creek that it will have an impact, and I don't see that really changing too much. And if we reassess it now, when we did Dewey Street the first time, that was under existing conditions. We assess everything now based on how do all these interim wet weather plan projects impact the projects. So if it comes back and say the match might be higher or lower, you still have that original one that we will honor. But if the second one proves, hey, the improvements that you made, on this design makes it a better project. You'll get that one and you say, we're going to rescind this one. We're not trying to lock a municipality into one project. What we want is for the municipality to be treated fairly. And if you can get if you have a better project, now that some time has gone by, the design is more, focused. I don't see why we would say, oh no, you got that, you got your grant, forget it, no more for you, Miriam. No. If, I would just, say, give me the plans. And I have talked with those guys, fairly recently.
I'm afraid to even talk to them. It's to change. I can't chase any more money. I can't get any more money from upstream. That's not working at all. This is the area where the only area left in our community that does have basement flooding. Is probably the most valuable project, and it's just going right out of our reach.
And in the assessment for originally, basement flooding was not identified. So if there are known places of basement flooding and you can effectively show that in certain situations, you've got basement flooding, that's an overflow. That's contact, that's human contact to sewage, and you don't want that. So we'll take that to account. We've done that in other places, but it comes back to, we have to have the data. You can't, you know, I trust your word, but I don't know if I trust the engineers.
Well, that's what I'm saying, I can't pay them any more than I'm paying them.
I,
And we're not getting anywhere.
and that's another thing, is that you can reassess what that design cost ends up being.
Right.
And and when we look at it and, you know, we start to see the data coming back and, you know, the data we got originally was based off of what was given to us. But if we have an opportunity to maybe, you know, take a harder look at what is really going on there, you know, and we learn other things. You know, there's a chance that you could get a better match. And that would be I think that would be helpful for the municipality.
Sounds like maybe you can converse off.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. I think that would be good. Okay. Talk.
Yes, definitely.
Without,
Yep.
yeah, for sure.
Okay.
The
The other thing wasn't on the agenda, which I know is the regionalization, the color.
Fine.
Very good, very good. We're 26 miles transferred. We got another 100 miles in the pipeline, so.
Wow.
going very well.
That's really nice.
Yeah,
Awesome.
yours is in the DEP.
Yeah.
With part 2, so making a lot of progress. Oh, wow.
I told my board that was the
Julie's
thing I
doing
was gonna
fantastic.
talk stuff. I told my board at a meeting and they were like, especially the new ones, they're like, what? I said, of anything that I've done in my career here or been part of, this is the best thing that's ever happened to our community. They're like, what about the Riverfront Park? I'm like, no. This one,
We're happy.
well, it's gonna make a difference to the people in our community's lives, so I'm happy about it.
I would say one thing on behalf of the communities. ALCOSAN was really instrumental in stepping up, advancing the grow grants. Because of the COAs and the timeline.
Most certainly.
You know, kudos to Mike's team and
Yep.
Tim for recognizing it. So it really is helping the municipalities because of the deadlines, pushing that up. So it really helped them now to try to fund some of the COA, because as Tim said, they're getting more finite what they have to do now. So big help, shout out to them, they've done a great job. They're at all of our meetings, or in all the communications, and I gotta tell you that the transfer is fantastic, how it's going and being received from the municipalities.
It's wonderful, the project I'm speaking to you guys about was helped, we were helped, finding it by ALCOSAN, and it is the main project might overflow the most, or I have to make the most, but it's so important to us. So we're grateful.
Thank you.
We have. Thank you. Any new business? All right. Any public comment?
No.
Nope.
Motion to adjourn.
Second, all those in favor? Aye.